color guard. Post colors, post. Right face. Forward march.
421, 427, check out.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, remain standing. Mr. Williams will be praying for us this evening.
Let us pray. Well, God of us all, we acknowledge your presence with us this evening. We know that you are with us in every circumstance, good and bad, and for that we are thankful. This month where we are preparing to celebrate Thanksgiving, we give you thanks for the many things we are blessed with in this community. We thank you for our community, a safe place and a friendly place for all who live here. We thank you for our Mayor Michael Code and all the other council members, Vice Mayor Jason Tennerman, Chair Deb Miller, Fred Francis, Susan Willis, Laura Ashley, and Scott Fogel. We also give you thanks for our village manager, Matt Klein, and the other staff. The work that they do is not always easy, but it's important for the well-being of our community. We thank you for all those in our community who keep us safe, the police, firefighters, EMTs, and all those who work in our community. We thank you for all the businesses in the community, and most of all, we thank you for all those who choose to make West Milton their home. God, we ask that you bless this meeting tonight, guide and direct the decisions and discussions, that our community may continue to be a place where people want to live and grow into the people you have created them to be. We ask all of this in the name of the one who has great plans for West Milton. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. This meeting is now in order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Coate?
Here.
Francis?
Here.
Miller? Here. Tennerman?
Here.
Vogel?
Here.
Ashley?
Here.
And Willis?
Here.
The following is the certificate of the clerk to the presiding officer of council from the municipal clerk of council. The undersigned certifies that all requirements to notice and notification has been done or attempted to be done in compliance with Council Rule 3. Signed, Linda Cantrell, November 13th, 2012. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to excuse Debbie Miller from the October 23rd council meeting, or workshop meeting.
And the special meeting.
What's that?
And the special meeting.
Oh, and the special meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Francis?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Tennerman?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Willis?
Yes.
And Mayor Coate?
Yes. Council should have received their minutes from the previous council meeting as well as the workshop. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as written for the October 9th council meeting?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion or changes regarding these minutes?
Scott?
No discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Francis?
Yes.
Miller?
Abstain.
Tennerman?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Willis?
Yes.
And Mayor Coate?
Yes. I'll entertain a motion to accept the workshop minutes from October 23rd as written.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Francis?
Yes.
Miller?
Abstain.
Tennerman?
Yes.
Fogel?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Willis?
Yes.
And Mayor Coate?
Yes. Thank you. At this time, we'll turn our attention to correspondences to council. I believe Mr. Klein has some correspondence.
Thank you, Mayor. Only one, and it was and I made a copy on the inside of the card. It's a thank you card from Jolene at the Brick House, and all the support the council had given her, and her issue has passed I believe it was about like a 75-25 vote. So she's very thankful, and she's real excited about getting the project started. And that's all the correspondence we've had.
Thank you. Well, at this time, I'd like to turn our meeting over to Chief Kimple for the recognition of the West Milton Police Division.
First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and council for allowing me a few minutes to recognize these guys for a case that we did back in April. It was a homicide case. You know, as chief, you always kind of assessing the department, you know, what you can handle, what you might not be able to handle. And, you know, you think about the officer's strengths and their skills, and they point each other's weaknesses out. So I hear those too. And so on April 13th of this year, which just happened to be a Friday the 13th, Jason, come on. Okay. Jason and I received a radio call to assist the squad, which we were both in the same car because we were going to go to pick up one that had been serviced. And a lot of times on a squad call, you know, you might just tell them, well, if they need us, give us a call. But on this particular call, was first dispatched as a possible lawnmower accident, and then possibly a fall. The subject was unresponsive, and as soon as I gave the address, we kind of looked at each other and turned around and headed back. We got there. Within just a few minutes, one of the squad members kind of rolled the person's body forward, and there was a wound that was obviously not from a fall or an accident. I told Jason, you know, hey, you know, get these people back, put some crime scene tape up, and call the coroner. And I'll admit I got a little bit of a deer in the headlight look for a minute, but you know, he did what needed to be done. Later in the day, he, you know, I had him keeping a crime scene log, just kind of running around doing this and that. I didn't do too much. I just kind of stood there, didn't I? I had sent him over to get a statement from one of the residents there, and he came back and he said, hey, I think he's got a couple specks of blood on his shirt. So I went over and kind of took a look, and yeah, he sure did. So I had Jason collect that evidence, and we later did a presumptive test on it, and it was blood. Later we found out at the lab that it was the victim's blood. Now we were able to get permission to search from the suspect, but had at any time he said, I don't want you in my house, those 2 specks of blood would have probably got us enough evidence to get, or enough probable cause for a search warrant to get inside. So it was a real good catch on his part. We got there about 10 in the morning, and I think we cleared the scene at 10 or 11 that night. And I had Jason running the whole time, pretty much. So what I've done is I submitted nomination forms to the National Chiefs Association, and along with documentation, reports, and some news articles. And they've sent some awards for some of the officers. Right now, I'd like to give Officer Stevens this is just a general commendation for his work on the case, and along with the certificate.
Thank you.
Thank you. So after that, of course, I basically took about 3 minutes to decide, maybe not even that long, to decide whether or not we as a department could handle this case. I had no doubts we could, so right away I called Sergeant Hendricks. Tracy's one of our evidence technicians. He lives here in town, which always helps because he can get right there. Tracy showed up. We started looking over the crime scene. started taking a couple measurements, and then saw quite a bit of blood spatter in different directions. And I asked him, I said, what do you think? You want to call BCI? And he said, yeah, let's do it. So why call BCI? Well, they handle these cases a lot more than we do. They have a lot better equipment than we do. The officers write up good reports, and they testify in court on murder cases more than we do. And fifth, as chief, you call them in case things go south, and then you can blame the whole case on them. Boss, I lead this right now. You know, and that's how that works. But so that also freed Tracy up to do some. Once we got the consent to search, we had a couple outbuildings to search, the house to search. This property is probably as big as this entire building, mowed, and then there's woods on both sides. And as we go through the day, I start getting a little nervous because we don't really have a whole lot of evidence yet. And at some point during the evening, Tracy found a life insurance policy with the suspect as the beneficiary stuck under a mattress. So we had motive. Still not a lot of evidence. Continued through the night, about 10 o'clock. We still didn't really have any evidence. No murder weapon, no bloody clothes, no gloves, no smoking gun. So we kind of pulled everybody together and decided to check a couple more places. And about 10 o'clock, Tracy called. They had found everything we needed right up in the attic of the house. So he could have given up. He didn't. He found a lot of good evidence, and just did an overall great job. And proud to serve with him.
Thank you, sir.
This is a criminal investigation award, again from it's actually from the American Police Hall of Fame through the Chiefs Association.
Thanks, sir.
So the next guy we call is Ross Grove. Ross, he's another one of our evidence techs when we weren't sure whether or not we were going to do the scene or not. We called Ross. He got out there, so I had to find something for him to do. So what I had was him take a couple people at the scene that we thought might possibly be involved, and go down and get a taped statement from them. His assignment was just kind of go get their story, not press them on the facts, just to basically get their story. He did that about the time. I think you were gone at the time. I called Sergeant Shade, or Sergeant Shade called me actually. Randy, you hiding? Randy I knew had some kind of a medical procedure with his grandmother that day, and so I didn't want to bother him, but apparently he wanted away from it all, so he called me. Hey, what's going on? So I said, hey, can you come in? He said, sure. So at that point, Randy and Ross kind of took care of all of our suspect interviews, and started getting a lot of inconsistencies, and over time, actually, sometime the next day, I believe, we finally got a confession from the defendant while he was at the hospital. And Ross, well, all of us, we continued to work, I mean, we had an arrest in 12 hours, but we had another 3 weeks work to do just to get everything together. And Ross did search warrants for us. He was kind of our gopher. I'd tell him to do something, Randy tell him to do something else, and he didn't know what to do. But he got it all done. And just a great team effort. And Ross and I, we actually set up the conference room here, kind of a war room, because we just had piles of evidence and paperwork, reports. Matter of fact, probably if I ask you guys the incident number, you'd be able to rattle it right off. I know it's burnt in my head. But, and we put together a case that, no offense, even an attorney could, you know. I mean, they like the Reader's Digest version. So we gave it to them organized in such a way that it apparently ended up a pretty good case, because we ended up with a conviction, 7 months later. So I just want these guys to know it's a pleasure. I got no doubts about anything that, I mean, I know Ross learned a lot during the investigation. He's always wanting to investigate anyway, so now we know we can turn him loose with confidence. So. Thank you, sir. Later that night, we took him to jail. We started to take him to jail. Of course, he's been through the system enough that he wanted to go to the hospital. He had his, at that time, I think his blood pressure was way up. Squad wanted to transport him. So the next week, this man's in the hospital. I've got 4 officers working full-time on the case. I've got to cover the street, cover the hospital, and we got 4 guys to do it with. And I'd like those fellows to come up. They all stepped up, worked double shifts. I know a couple times, you know, you just see the same guy and like, what are you doing here? Well, I just got done on the street, now I got to go to the hospital. And Todd, I think, what, 2 months at the time?
2 months.
Yeah. And, you know, we had to throw him right in the mix and have him over at the hospital guarding, you know, this guy. And I think Adam and Todd had come out to the scene about just when we were getting ready to release, and lucky for us, they were nice and fresh. And I think it was actually Adam that said, you know, well, did we check basement or is there a crawl space? So we checked there, and I don't know for sure, but I think you're the one that mentioned let's check the attic. So,
yeah, I mentioned Sergeant Hendricks.
So we got that done, and you know, Mike, working shifts, coming and going. You know, it just, all of them stepped up, except for Underwood. No, I'm kidding. So, you know, I mean, they were working, I don't know how many hours they were working, because, you know, Randy and Tracy were just kind of scheduling, and
162 on that paycheck.
all I know is there's a lot of new motorcycles and cars pulling in the back, a lot when they were done. So I'd like to give these guys I had a challenge coin made up. On the front, it's just the West Milton patch. It says West Milton, Ohio Division of Police. On the back has the West Milton logo, and says presented by the Chief of Police for outstanding performance. And ribbons to put on their uniform too. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
You know, you hear team effort. Well, this really was. These guys all stepped up, and the only whining going on was me, because my feet hurt, my knees hurt, my back hurt. Well, sir. Thanks, sir. Good shot. I'd like to real quick recognize a couple other guys from another agency, and they didn't know I was going to do this tonight, but Brian White and Gary Wogus, the special agents, and they're not even going to come up here. Just get the dirty look. These guys did an outstanding job. I just met Gary during this incident. Brian, I was trying to think today, well, what have I known Brian? 6, 7 years? Turns out it's closer to 15. Yeah. So that's how time flies. I just got a little challenge point for you there.
Thank you.
And, certificate of appreciation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief Kimple, and thank you to the Police Division for all their hard work this year so far, and we appreciate that. And Mr. Klein.
We would be remiss if we didn't take this opportunity to say that it was a team effort, but the team has an excellent leader in Chief Kimple. And I know how many hours they all worked, but I also know how many hours the chief put into this case. He's not kidding when he said his back hurt, his knees hurt. It's because he was working so many hours and making sure that these young men did what needed to be done. And I think it's because of his leadership that we had a successful conviction in less than 7 months from the time of the murder. So really, we should take an opportunity to say thank you to the chief as well.
Well, at this time, we'd like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Stallman from DP&L. He has a presentation that he would like to make this evening. So, Mr. Stallman.
Get some bed here.
I thought the audience was for this.
Thank you all for coming. What's that?
This is more like the norm now. Well, I want to thank you. My name is Bob Stallman. I'm serve a couple of different roles. I'm DPL's community ambassador for the municipality of West Milton, and I'm also the director of community relations for DPL Energy. So I want to just take a couple of brief minutes tonight to present an option to City Council of an agreement that and a program that we have developed for various communities in the DP&L service area that could bring some additional savings to the residents within the community on their electric charges. So I'm going to use my unpaid assistant here, Ben, to help me out a little bit. So Ben, if you could go to the next slide. Just to give you a little bit of background on who we are and who I am. DPL Energy is an unregulated affiliate of Dayton Power and Light. We were incorporated in 2000 to essentially provide retail service, electric supply service to customers based on market-based pricing rather than regulatory or rate-based pricing. Since 2000, we've become one of the largest electric suppliers, electric providers in the country. We're now serving, as it indicates over here, over 150,000 customers. We're actually close to a couple 100,000 customers now. We have experience with all different types of customers as it relates to individual contracts, working with buying groups, working through mass market types of situations, and even doing aggregation, and I'll speak about a couple of those later on. We also have an existing relationship with many of the local governments in the DP&L service territory, because within our organization is Miami Valley Lighting, which provides street lighting and outdoor lighting services to many communities in the DP&L service territory. And as far as I know, we are still the only local supplier, or the only supplier, retail electric supplier that has its headquarters or home base in the DP&L service territory. So we're located in Dayton, Ohio, so all of our employees are still individuals that work and invest in the communities of the DP&L service territory. So Ben, on the next one. And I'm just going to go through this real quick just to remind everyone, when we're talking about electric or generation supply, we're only talking about the component as it relates to that aspect of your utility bill. That's on average about 2/3 of your bill. The remaining portion, or the 1/3, is the distribution, which is a regulated service still provided by Dayton Power and Light, and it's the poles, the wires, the transformers, and all of those different types of things that you see within within West Milton and throughout many other communities in the DP&L service territory. Well, legislation was passed back in 2000 called Electric Choice, which essentially provides the option for customers to select an alternative electric supplier if they want to do so. DPL Energy has currently 2 mass market offers out there for residential customers in the DP&L service territory. And when I say mass market, meaning all residential customers in that territory. One of them is 6.9 cents per kilowatt hour. The term of that expires May 31st of 2014 with no early termination fee. And if you stay through that program to its expiration, you get a $75 loyalty payment at the end. That particular program saves you on average maybe about $200 on an annual basis on your electric bill. We also have a strictly online only offer of 6.5 cents, which means you can only participate or enroll in that particular program online. That term also expires May 31st of 14. And there is a $75 early termination fee with that. And on average, that saves you anywhere between $225, maybe $230 a year on your electric bill. Next slide, please. Well, part of the legislation that was passed in 2000 provides opportunities for local governments to do something called government aggregation. And essentially what that means is the local government can be sort of the buying agent or purchasing agent of electric supply for the residents if they want to do so. There are 2 types of aggregation. One is called opt-out. The other one is called opt-in. Opt-out legislation starts out as inclusive, meaning that everybody within the community is automatically involved or included in that. And that requires action by the council or by a political jurisdiction to place it on the ballot and the residents to vote the approval of that for a community to do that. And so that's what's called opt-out aggregation. Opt-out also requires various other types of things, administrative tasks as it will be to implement that. You have to be certified as a government aggregator. You have to file or develop what's called a plan of operations and governance. You have to hold some public hearings or a couple of public hearings on it, and those types of things. So a little bit of work as it relates to also doing those types of aggregation programs. Well, what we have found out is not all communities want to participate in some things like that, and so what we've developed is an option called the Community Savings Program for residents. And what we've tried to do through this is sort of eliminate the steps as it relates to some of the aggregation administrative tasks through the community service, through the Community Savings Program. Next slide. Just to provide you sort of the details of this, and using West Milton as an example, West Milton would enter into a program or enter into an agreement with us as sort of an endorsed residential supplier within the community. We wouldn't be the exclusive provider, meaning that the residential or business customers still have the option to select another supplier if they want to do so. Our price under this particular program is 6.25 cents per kilowatt hour. It's about 35% discount to DP&L's electric supply or their regulated rate, and would save the average residential customer about $275 to $300 annually on their utility bill or on their generation bill. The term is through May 31st of 2014 with a $75 early termination fee. The nice thing, or a couple of nice things about this program, it leaves the option to participate to the individual resident. So the resident in West Milton could either participate in this program, or they could go with another supplier, or they could stay with DP&L. So it leaves all the options out there for them. It just provides another option for them to consider when they want to, if they're looking at this. Any current DPL Energy customers can switch to this without any termination fee. So if there are retail customers that, I talked about the mass market offers before, that are currently on a program with us and they like this one better, they can switch to it without any termination fee. All they need to do is just contact us and we'll get them enrolled in the program. We work with the community to sort of develop a little bit of a communications plan to make residents aware of the program, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And the other thing that's really different from this than some of the other, again, it just requires council or board approval for implementation, just like you would in any other process where you enter into an agreement with a vendor. So it's pretty simple to do and able to kind of get things running a little bit quicker than anything as it relates to the aggregation types of programs. Next slide, please. This just gives kind of a synopsis of the benefits. Allows the community to be a little bit proactive as it relates to the current electric market and what's sort of going on in the electric market environment under this without any PUCO involvement regarding government aggregation. Provides the eligible customers a price that is below the mass market offers that we're currently providing, so some additional savings that they couldn't get through our mass market offers. Still provides the customers to the ability to evaluate the options on themselves and select the one that works best for them, and sort of minimizes the time and resources to be able to get this program up and going. This is just a little bit of a synopsis that we've put together regarding the communications plan and how we've used it in a few other communities. Potential forms of communication are maybe a letter that goes out with the West Milton logo on it, and it could include our logo on it, and it could come from either the mayor or the city manager, just kind of explaining the basics of the program. We will print the letters and pay for the postage as it relates to sending that letter out. The only thing that we would need from West Milton in this particular case would be a signature that we can use for all of them. And the other thing is sort of help us develop a mailing list based on the residents that you have within the municipality of West Milton. So if you're currently provide information in some form or fashion to them, we would just need to get that information from them to be able to do that. We could also do a couple of other types of things. If you want to put it on your website, that's fine. If you want to send out information for some communities that maybe have a newsletter, that's fine also. And we can also kind of promote it and talk about it a little bit more at future council meetings. And so a number of different ways that we can do some things to promote the awareness of this program to the residents in the community. And essentially, that's the basics of the program. So at this time, I'll open it up to any questions, comments, anything like that. Yes, sir.
The .0625 rate, is that a locked-in rate or does that fluctuate?
No, that is a fixed rate. So once you enroll in that, and so let's say you decide you want to participate in the program and we get you enrolled in January, let's just say. Yeah, you are on that rate through the entire term of the agreement or through May 31st of 2014.
I have a question, Bob. You had mentioned the online program, which I think was 6.5
That's correct.
cents, but it had a $75 termination fee. Can that fee be waived if they wanted to opt into this new program?
Yes. So, for instance, if somebody is on that online program that lives within West Milton, and we enter into an agreement with the municipality, and they want to get into this one, they can opt into the new agreement and not pay any termination fee. That's correct. And so, if they're a current DPL Energy customer and they want to switch to get into this one, they can do that without any termination fee of their existing agreement.
I will make a plug real quick. I'm a DP&L Energy customer myself. Have been now. I just renewed at the 65 cents until 2014, but we saved about 20% on our electric bill this past year. So you do save quite a bit.
Yeah, current market conditions are pretty favorable. Over you know, for the next, well, at least through May, and we feel pretty confident it will continue at that time. Once it gets beyond that, and I think Matt has mentioned this also, that once you get into like 2015, there are certain aspects that indicate, I'm just going to say that there's price pressures that are going to be there that may start to move up as it relates to the price of electricity going forward after that time. And I didn't even ask him to make that promotion for us. Thank you very much. Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stallman.
Thank you.
I have prepared a resolution to start the program for tonight. However, it's up to council as to whether they wanted the resolution to be read tonight, or if they want to wait and think about it for the December meeting, or give me instruction as to what you would like to do.
Would you like to have discussion when we present the resolution, or have discussion now regarding this resolution?
That would be fine
Or
if
wait,
you wanted
or
discussion right now.
Okay. What does council feel about
I'm
this?
for, because as Scott is, I'm a DPL energy at the 6.5, or 0.065, however you want to say it, and we've saved like $300 last year with our energy bill, so.
I've put off joining anything because I did that once with the gas bill and I totally lost my you-know-what on it. And so I've been very hesitant on doing anything with my electric bill, but this sounds like the program.
Well, and what I like too is it would give you that choice that if you don't want to opt in, you wouldn't have to.
Right.
But those that want to can, and I really appreciate that.
That's good, because it's the option that you give
Yeah.
folks. It's not
Give you
something
the
that
choice.
people are forced into or anything like that. And there are plenty of different options out there, so that's why people can look at all the different avenues and look at the different options out there.
And if you go online to DPL Energy, it has a bunch of different options with them, and then it has links to state websites that have different,
Right.
not the
There's
play.
apples to apples.
Exactly, which is really
Showing
nice.
Different offers.
Yeah.
And that's a nice feature too, by not having a termination fee if you want to switch over, if, we adopt this as well, so.
Your contract's for 12 months only for renewal, right? And then you have to go back through and sign up again? How's that work?
So, I'm not sure I understand, but if you sign
Well,
up for the
if you-
program, it goes
right,
to
if
May
you-
31st, 2014.
That's 18
And then
months.
at the end of that,
That's
you
what
will essentially have the same options that you have now. You can either do a DP&L Energy offer that we'll have. You could go with another supplier. You could go with Dayton Power and Light.
So you'd have to make another choice again.
You'll have to
After
make
18
another-
months, you got to go
that's
through
correct.
the
So you have
system
to make
again.
another choice after that time.
So it's about almost every 18 months instead of a year then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go back and choose again, go through the entire
And
thing.
you will always have the ability, if you don't make a selection, let's say at the end of this time frame, you will automatically go back to the utility. So it's not like you
Stuck with it.
discontinue
Yeah.
service in any manner. You always have, your regulated utility is always your provider of last resort.
Yeah, and there are some other options out there that are like 7-year contracts at like 7 cents or something. So there are lots of options out there.
Yeah, they come to your door pretty often, you know.
No one comes back to where I live.
Well, they shouldn't.
Neighborhood.
I'm in favor of it.
Dangerous.
The only question I didn't think, if we pass this tonight, then how soon can people start signing up?
Generally, to get things, the letter prepared and sent out, and get it set up online, it's generally about 30 days from, so this would be, we would send the letter out mid-December, something like that.
Okay. So I can't call tomorrow morning and sign up? Okay.
There is,
It's just a resolution.
can I make one more
Yes.
comment? There's something I forgot, because it is important for a number of, let me rephrase that. There are some customers that are on DP&L's level or budget billing. If you participate in our program at this time, we do not have that option available. So if certain customers that they really value that level or budget billing, we don't have the ability to provide that service to them at this particular point in time. We hopefully will very soon in the future when they enroll. And when I say soon in the future, I'm talking early next year. But I wanted to make sure that that is understood by council, because there may be some individuals that say, I don't want to get on that program because I don't do budget, or I do budget building, and I want to keep that opportunity.
And that will be spelled out in detail in the letter that you would send out?
Put that in the letter if you want to do that. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think that's important to make sure that's known, because a lot of the seniors that are on limited income budget and do the budget billing.
Especially during the winter.
Yeah.
And DP&L will do all the marketing to educate the community?
Yeah, we'll do the letter. We can do some things as indicated, putting it on the website. Can put it in a newsletter or some of those things, absolutely.
Can we put that slide presentation on the website?
Sure.
I mean, that was a good presentation so far.
All right. Thank you, Council, and Mr. Stallman for your time. At this time, we will move on to our ordinances and resolutions. No comments from citizens? He's good. So we'll go to CM-12-35, ordinance to amend the code, chapter 96, income tax.
It is 35. We discussed it.
Okay. I believe it's 34.
Which one was the? Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. 34.
All right. An ordinance amending Chapter 96 of the West Milton Code of Ordinances, income tax. Whereas the collection of revenue is necessary to provide the sufficient funds for continuation of vital governmental services, and whereas the Council of the Municipality of West Milton is desirous of accomplishing this in the most efficient and equitable manner possible. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton as follows. Section 1, the income tax ordinance and the rules and regulations for the collection of income tax are hereby amended to reflect specific changes. Section 2, the ordinance shall take full force and effect from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Thank you. Mr. Klein?
Mayor, to be fair to our TV audience that is just watching watching the council meeting, may not have the attached or may not know of the attached, I think it'd just be wise if we just go over what the attachments are. They're mostly changes that have been recommended to us by the city of Vandalia, who will be collecting our tax starting in January. One is a filing date will be changed from April 30th to April 15th. There's also a section where individuals who are permanently retired and who have no income subject to taxation shall only have to file once, and then once that's done, there is no more mandatory filing for those retired persons. One change for operating losses, except on any portion of loss separately reported for municipal tax purposes to another city, shall not be allowed to be carried over or carried forth. And then there is one requirement now for owners of rental property. Before October 31st of each year, they should submit a current listing of all their renters. This would help for us to track those who live in rental properties. And then there is a penalty for late filing or non-payment of taxes of $25. So those are the 4 or 5 items that would be amended to this ordinance. That obviously isn't spelled out by reading just the ordinance itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just another quick question, Matt. How are we communicating the change again from Hamilton to Vandalia? How's that mass communication going to go out to folks so they know of the change? Vandalia will be sending out a letter, and a letter to all of our residents and businesses will be coming from probably Jill's office, since the tax actually falls under the finance director.
Okay.
On our website, et cetera. Newspaper reporting as well.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance, or, oh no, this is first reading. Yes, excuse me, first reading. Yes. We'll move on to the 2013 budget appropriations, CM-12-36.
An ordinance to appropriate funds necessary for the various departments and offices of the municipality of West Milton, Ohio for the year 2013. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, to provide for the current expenses and other expenditures of the municipality of West Milton during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2013 and ending December 31st, 2013, the following sums be and are hereby set aside and appropriated as follows. I'm going to read the fund title, then obviously the appropriated dollars afterwards. The general fund, $1,768,825. Cemetery fund, $500. Street levy fund, $244,000. Park fund, $32,750. Street construction and maintenance fund, $276,275. State highway fund, $10,000. Enforcement and education fund, $500. Drug law enforcement fund, $500. OWDA debt service fund, $224,841.78. OPWC 12 debt service fund, $25,290. Water capital improvement fund, $3,750. Sewer capital improvement fund, $17,750. Sidewalk curb and gutter fund, $4,000. Water fund, $767,156. Sewer fund, $645,736. Total appropriations, all funds, is $4,021,873.78. Section 2, the Director of Finance is hereby authorized to draw warrants on the village treasury for payments from any of the foregoing appropriations upon receiving proper certificates and vouchers, therefore approved by the board or officers authorized by law to approve the same, or an ordinance or resolution of council to make the expenditure, provided that no warrant shall be drawn or paid for salaries or wages except to persons employed by authority of and in accordance with law or ordinance.
Thank you, Lene. This is the first reading of that ordinance.
This is the first reading. I'm proud to say that I believe the staff and the council have worked very hard in being able to present a budget that, if passed in December, will be able to be clicked and ready to go the 1st of January. So we're ahead of schedule.
Thank you. At this time, we'll turn our attention to Resolution CM-12-37.
Resolution endorsing DP&L Energy Resources as the municipality's preferred energy provider and authorizing the municipal manager to execute the affinity agreement. Whereas the West Milton Council desires to assist its residents and businesses with lower electric expenses, which reduced expenses would provide a substantial savings for village customers. Whereas DP&L Energy Resources is offering a competitive retail electric service which will offer a discounted rate through May 31st, 2014, in exchange for an agreement to become the municipality's preferred energy provider, which, however, does not require DP&L Energy Resources to become the exclusive provider. Whereas DP&L Energy Resources has developed an affinity agreement which is designed to assist residents and businesses of the municipality in reducing their retail electric expenses. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, the municipal manager is authorized to execute the affinity agreement between the municipality of West Milton and DPL Energy Resources Incorporated, which agreement is attached hereto as Exhibit A. Section 2, this affinity agreement will provide the residents of West Milton the option if they are eligible to participate in this preferred customer program. Section 3, this resolution shall go into effect and be in full force after its passage.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Would council have any discussion to add to this resolution? Okay. All right. Roll call, please.
Francis.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Tinnerman.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Ashley.
Yes.
Willis.
Yes.
And Mayor Coe.
Yes, the resolution has been passed. At this time, we'll look at our last piece of legislation, CM-12-38.
Resolution authorizing the municipal manager to enter into an agreement with the Milton Union School District for the future recreational use of ground currently owned by the Milton Union School District. Whereas it is the collective desire of the council and the Milton Union School Board to work together and help to create additional recreational opportunities for our residents. And whereas a lease agreement for property at the former elementary and middle school grounds has been negotiated to further that purpose. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, the municipal manager is hereby authorized and directed to enter into a facility use agreement with the Milton Union School District for an initial term of 20 years. In Section 2, this resolution shall go into effect and be in full force after its passage.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Council have any discussion?
Yeah, I just have one question. We had talked originally, this is a 20-year term.
Yeah, I asked that same question when I spoke with Chuck Klein, treasurer, and originally, and I reminded him, during our meeting, I actually believe it was Mr. Huffman who suggested 99 years. At their last school board meeting, they made a motion to do it for 20 years. And then in here, it is allowed to be extended just by voice vote, I believe, or something like that, after that. It renews automatically for a term of 1 year after that each year. That's what they had made a vote and motion to do. And this is the agreement that they had forwarded on to us. Never have really given me a reason why they reduced it from 99 to 20.
Yeah. I just want to make sure there wasn't any kind of other conversation.
No, there was absolutely no conversation. In fact, I didn't even catch the 20 until we started to write the ordinance.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be 99, and I just assumed that. I was just waiting on the attached survey map was what we were waiting on. And when that finally came, I put it all together, and then I noticed on Friday it said 20 instead of 99, and I really don't have a reason other than what Chuck just told me, which
That's okay. I just wanted to
still
make sure
isn't
there
much of a
wasn't
reason.
anything else.
And I had a question as well on the facility use agreement, which is Section 9, talks about the liability and insurance. It says, we have to confirm that and provide proof of that within a certain amount of days. What is the cost to the municipality for something like that?
It's typically not very much.
Okay.
Liability insurance actually is very little.
Okay.
We already have liability insurance. We already have it to the tune of actually an exceeding of this amount.
Okay.
Once this is passed, or if this is passed tonight, I'll obviously be calling them tomorrow, but
It just
I
adds
don't
that to,
anticipate.
it would add that to it.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
And can you give a layman's description of the property that we're looking at? I mean, we're not talking about the entire
No.
elementary, middle school.
If you look at the map, and Tom, let me hold that map up for the television as well. But if you'll see the map that is attached, it's essentially, if you'll recall where the elementary and junior high ended, like from Spring Street going east, where the building used to stand, right at those back walls, that's where that line is. So then everything east of that is still the football practice field and some extra space that they'll be maintaining. That's where we drew the line.
Okay.
It basically splits the property approximately in half.
Okay.
So it's essentially where the building actually stood.
And this, at this time, does not include the tennis courts?
Oh, yeah, no, this agreement does have the tennis courts in it. It's the 5 tennis courts as well. That is in
Well,
section 1.
I saw it on the lease agreement, but they didn't make another map for that?
We didn't make another
for-
map for the tennis courts because both parties at the time understood
We
it's
can
just the tennis courts.
Legally, we can define that as the tennis courts?
Just the
I mean,
tennis
that's,
courts, yes.
okay.
Then my only concern would be, they state that we're required for all repairs and maintenance, as long as they take the rest of the building with them and fix that, since it starts November 1st, I'm good with that. I don't want them to come back and say, you gotta take the rest of the building.
That's true. Good point, sir.
I know.
I-
Just make it
Roll call, please.
Francis?
Yes.
Miller? Yes. Tinnerman?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Willis?
Yes.
And Mayor Coe.
Yes, the resolution has been passed. At this time, I believe we'll turn our attention to Mr. Klein for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. Only a few items tonight. We're in the heart of leaf season. Ben and the men have been doing a superb job of getting caught up with all the leaves. Seems like all the leaves in the last week or so have just decided to fall at the same time. If you've had the chance, hopefully maybe a couple of you may have driven down Main Street past the library towards City Hall tonight. You may have noticed, or if you haven't, when you go home tonight, drive up Main Street towards the library. Across the street from the library, you should see, I hope, they haven't moved it, is a speed radar trailer that the police have just acquired within the last day or so. It was just put out today as a test run, and we decided to put it in front of the library on Main Street. We'll be utilizing that in all the neighborhoods that we get complaints on speeding. We seem to get a lot of complaints on Hamilton Street, and I was really hoping they weren't going to, and I'm glad they put it in front of the library, because I really thought they jokingly said they were going to put it in front of my house, so I'm glad they didn't do that. Would not be the greatest place to put it the very first time. But it works, it's brand new, looks awesome. They'll be utilizing it when Ben's men are working on the street somewhere. They'll be able to utilize that trailer. It just has a subconscious effect of slowing down traffic and lets you know how fast you are going. It posts the speed on the radar, and it shows on a sign below it what the speed limit is supposed to be. So that has just been started today.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
After talking to the chief, something I found really interesting was, if someone calls in and says that they have 100 cars speeding on their street in a day, even if it's not on, it will track the speed of vehicles going by, and they can just download that data so they know were they really going 25, were they going 35. So I thought that was a nice.
It does that. You're right, absolutely. It does collect the data. So when someone does call in and say there's 100, there's 100, yes, it's a computer eye. Yeah, it collects a lot of data, which helps. Oh, finally, I know I've mentioned this in a memo to you, but I thought maybe for those who watch the council meeting on the TV, I've had this question posed to me a couple times and had it posed to me today. The county, if you'll recall, received a grant for demolition of vacated properties. We had submitted about a dozen homes. The first 3 were presented to the Board of Health. 2 of them were passed by the Board of Health. A third one was given a 30-day extension, which is just delaying the process by 30 days for that particular building, in my opinion. Hope I'm wrong. But they also indicated after they've passed that those 2 homes would be going out for bid within the next 2 weeks. So hopefully we'll be seeing some action. The first 2 homes to be demolished will be, I believe it's 130 Washington, which was actually scheduled to be demolished several years ago and then was stopped for some reason. And then, I forget the address, but it's North Miami Street, across from Sarver Funeral Home. It's a small little white house. So those will be the first two that have been approved and will be demoed. We do have a volunteer home, what is the old Martindale's home, just to the east of the old store. So that one too, I assume, will be bidding out and torn down soon. I've also been asked the status of the PVP building now that the brick house local option has been passed. If you recall, this is being financed by the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is through the county. The county itself will not actually get a release of the funds to the county until at least mid-December. So it's always been the county's intentions that they wouldn't be able to expend any of that money until January of next year. So we'll be starting the process of putting together bid specifications so we can go out to bid probably the end of January and the first couple weeks of February. Once those bids come back, council approves it. So you're looking at probably March at the earliest before a contractor starts to tear down the PVP building. So just a reminder, that's the calendar that we're looking at. Everyone's anxious and they want to see things torn down and built and everything. And unfortunately in government, it just takes time. So that's where we're at on those two projects as well. And that's all I have for tonight, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we'll turn our attention to, anyone have any old business to discuss this evening?
We had talked at prior workshops about for the holiday season of the Community Pride Award. Did council still want to do that for the holiday decorations? We had talked about it, and
definitely.
we need to get the word out and let the nominations come in if so.
For Christmas decorations?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm all for it.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely.
Would that be recommended the same way the summer ones were by city employees?
Or towards the end, didn't we have some nominations from
Actually,
residents?
the last 2 months, we had private citizens calling in or email. One emailed us, I believe, but most of them had called in and say, hey, we'd like to see this house nominated as well, so.
Okay.
So residents can nominate their neighbors.
Okay.
We- Just for making sure we make this work right, are we probably talking the awards in January? Or because I haven't been here over Christmas, so I'm not sure how quickly everyone decorates their homes, but our meeting will be December 11th.
Oh, yeah.
So
Let's
it's
do it January.
It's a little early. The January meeting would be January 8th.
We just put our Christmas tree up yesterday, so.
Jeez.
Both of them, as a matter of fact.
I have to work the Friday after Thanksgiving.
I guess they're not real, is that?
Yeah, let's give them their award in January, the first meeting.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. That makes it easier for us to administer.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
That'll give them an excuse not to take them down until February.
The other idea is we can announce a night to go around and judge if somebody wants to do a live scene,
No, that's true too.
Family get together, standing on the roof or whatever. Anyway,
Can you dress as Santa Claus?
like a nativity or whatever. Anyway, okay. Thank you, Susan. So, any new business?
I would just like to say Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans and thank you very much for your service. And thanks to the police department for a job well done as a citizen of West Milton as well as a citizen on Braun. So,
Thank you, Fred.
The only thing that I would like to, I mentioned to Ben, but I know Mr. Klein has mentioned it, but I would just like to thank again the staff for the great job on the leaf pickup and everything. The community has noticed it and has voiced their appreciation of that. So you guys have done a great job
I'll
again.
pass that on to the ones getting them all the weekend.
I had sent Ben an email, what, about a week ago? It was, because the Thursday of trick or treat, I busted home and cleaned up my leaves that morning. They come and picked them up that Friday morning. And I told Ben, I said, when I moved here back in '91, I refused to put my leaves out because they would sit there for weeks and kill my grass. And it's nice to know that they're picked up within a few days now. They're not on any set schedule. They see them, they get them. And that's the way it should be. And thank you.
We can't forget the most important thing, Friday. Go Dogs. Hopefully we come back with a big win and go on to the Final Four in the state, because we've never made it that far. So that'd be a big deal. We got our work cut out for us, but I think we're gonna pull it off.
And it's nice to see the community getting involved
Yeah.
in the.
I think a lot of people were woke up the other night coming from the Eagles to the football field. They had a heck of a caravan to the football field and rang the victory bell, and so it was a really good deal. Great thing for the community.
Who are they playing Friday night?
Clinton Massey. Yeah. And
In
they're
Centerville.
undefeated. They're 12-0, so.
It's okay.
Well, I believe that's all.
It's
Yeah, Mr.
probably a
Thompson.
little early, but I'll probably mention it now for the November meeting. We will have a workshop for the 25th of November, but I'm assuming that we'll have no workshop in December since it happens to be Christmas Day. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can be here, Matt.
And Fred will be here to make sure.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Do you get all of these?